Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Motor Trade Mentor podcast with David Gott of the Lovely Car Company, myself, Joe Betty of Barrow Motors Limited. And today we have our special guest, which is Gary Martin of Modern Heroes Car Sales. Hello, Gary. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Hi, Joe.
So, sorry, I was going to say, for those of us who don't know you, don't know of your YouTube channel, which we will get to, give us a quick rundown in 30 seconds about yourself.
Absolutely. So I'm Gary. I'm an IT consultant by trade, but over the past few years, I've built a little bit of a social media following through my YouTube channel, which is very focused on electric cars and the electrification of transport, which I know can be a little bit of a controversial subject. I'm sure we'll get into that. But and over the past few months, I've sort of branched out from that a little bit and started a car sales business, which focuses on getting people into electric cars for the first time. So rather than those with a 20, 30, 40, 50,000 pound budget, people that are shopping at the lower end of the market, less than 10 grand to spend, and are looking to buy something that probably means you need a little bit more help and advice along the way, because you may be buying a car that's a little bit older with lower range. Things like home charging or where you're going to charge it are much more important than if you've got one of these more modern cars with, a 200, 250 mile range where you really don't need to worry too much about it because you can plug it in often enough and it will be fine. Whereas if you're looking at something like an older Renault Zoe, for example, charging and all that stuff and then navigating your way through becomes a little bit more important.
Yeah, absolutely. Where does your sort of knowledge and experience of EVs come from? Is it just from being an enthusiast?
Yeah, primarily, yeah. And it's amazing what you can learn over the years through sort of owning and operating them, and then trying to, for the sort of social media side of things, debunk a lot of the sort of myths and stuff that are out there. I mean, a lot of people talk about the subject with various interests. So you have people that are dead against EVs for whatever reason, whether it be that they have vested interests elsewhere or that they just don't like change, etc. And then you have people sort of on the other end that are fanatical and won't listen to any argument against and think that an electric car is the answer to everyone's problems. And I try to take both of those views, squash them together and arrive somewhere in the middle where you can have a sensible discussion about pros and cons and try to actually have a balanced argument for or against. But obviously a little bit more on the for side of the house, but do try to keep things balanced.
Fair enough. They're the right car for some people, but not for others, I guess, at the moment, isn't there?
Do you sell a few electric cars, Joe?
I've just sold a Tesla, literally took a deposit yesterday, but that was because I fancied like a Model 3 Performance.
For yourself? To drive
Well, no,
about
not really for myself,
days.
but just to try one. But obviously you do as well, don't you, Dave? So I was going to come to that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be really interesting talking to you because, what I found is the older electric cars, like the Leafs and the Zoes, the batteries are really low on them, the older they get, the range. So how do you get around that when you're selling them? Like, how do you...
So I think the Leaf is probably the best example then of where you're going to see degradation as they get older, because of the passive thermal management of the battery means that it does degrade. Zoe is a little bit less susceptible to it, but it does suffer a little bit as well. But I think the important thing is just to be honest about the sort of real world capabilities. Every one that I get in, I try to make sure I cover 100, 150 miles in it, something like that. So I'd use it to run around in, and I try to assess what kind of state the battery's actually in for real, as well as plugging in diagnostics and reading state of health and providing those kind of percentage-based numbers as well. I figure if you can say, that Leaf has an 85% state of health, a lot of people aren't overly familiar with what that actually means. But if you say that means it will be able to drive in the region of 70 to 80 miles on the charge, they're a bit more keen to say, well, that suits my needs or that doesn't suit my needs. And ultimately, getting people in the car that's right for them is what's most important. And therefore, if you've got something that has degraded a little bit more than what someone's use case allows for, then it isn't the car for them. And that's just how it is.
And is that sort of the minimum it goes to, 60, 70, 80 miles? Or as it gets older, will it degrade to like 10 miles?
Well, and it won't. So the thing is, I think the worst Leaf I've had in recently had a state of health of about 85%. And that was represented on the 30 kilowatt hour car, a real world range of about 70 to 80 miles. That car had done 95,000 miles. Yes, it will continue to degrade. And, when it gets to the point where that 70 miles becomes like 40 or 50, well, that car will probably have nearly 200,000 miles on the clock. So at what point is the rest of the car actually degrading around the battery, and therefore, the sort of natural lifespan of a car has been reached anyway? You wouldn't be like retailing like a diesel BMW with a couple of 100,000 miles on the clock. I mean, you probably wouldn't be retailing it anyway because of the sort of sensibility with that. But if you were, you'd certainly be setting expectations around wear and tear to other components. So whilst it might be able to start, stop and steer, the expectation around the rest of it actually lasting any length of time would be lower, right? And I don't think it's any different with EVs either.
So do you look at the state of the battery health or the mileage of the car?
A bit of both. The state of health is king, because you can have high mileage EVs that don't degrade as much as some low mileage ones. It seems to, now, if you ask 10 different people this, you'll get 10 different answers, but it does seem to depend on how it's used in various ways. People say rapid charging is what kills a battery, but actually then I've seen ex-taxis and stuff like that have spent their entire life being rapid charged several times a day. They're not as degraded as stuff that sits plugged in at home, charged to 100% all the time because it's only used for a couple of miles a day. But because the person's a little bit worried about range, they plug it in all the time. It is a difficult subject, and it's one that I feel like the manufacturers could probably be doing more to help with as these products age. But then you're in that situation where a lot of the manufacturers just want you to buy a new car, don't they? And I think you find that with petrol and diesel products too, where you might have certain reliability issues with certain models, certain engines, maybe the kind of stuff that Joe likes to buy, that the manufacturer could probably be doing more to support those old models. But actually, unless you're willing to pay them for a very expensive engine replacement, then they're just going to punt you down the road. They're not interested.
Yeah, I guess you can look at electric cars and say, oh, the battery could die or whatever, and you say the same about an engine in a car. So I guess it's just people panic more about something they don't know about. This is going to turn into us just asking you a load of questions rather than the other way around.
How many cars have you sold so far? How many is your stock? How long have you been doing it for?
Yeah, sure. So I've been trading sort of properly since June, so not very long, and I'm holding 2 or 3 in stock at a time and trying to turn them over every month. So if I can sell 2 to 4 a month, I'm quite happy at the moment. June was a bumper month. I managed to sell 3 in June, which I guess it's one of those where you hit the ground running and you think, oh, this is actually, not that difficult. We can do this. It's good. And then we're doing sort of 1 a month since then. But it's a journey, right? And it's something that you need to build up over time. I think one of the issues I've got at the moment is I'm doing everything myself. So proper one-man band. And I'm also at the moment hesitant sometimes to outsource prep and repairs, not only because it eats into your margin, but also because finding sort of reliable garages, valeters, etc., to do some of those prep things I find quite difficult. And that's something I do want to pick your brains on today, because obviously I know you both started from very humble beginnings. You've got teams of people working for you now, but there would have been a time where you were either balancing how much you do yourself versus what you pay other people to do, or in my case, struggling to actually find reliable vendors to do stuff.
Can I just say something? I think you've started off, though, amazingly well to just stick to one niche. And I think Joe might agree with me on this, like we've made the mistake of trying everything, selling all different types of cars, different, price ranges, mileages, everything. If you just stick to this thing that you're on with electric vehicles, I think you're going to do really well. I think you've hit the nail on the head, especially with the YouTube channel and all that. Just niche into all that, and I think within a year, 2 years, you're going to really be able to grow your business amazingly.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I mean, it's a little bit odd. I guess I'm almost doing it the opposite way around that Joe has, where the YouTube stuff's built up alongside his already established, very successful car business, right? Whereas I've already got a bit of the YouTube stuff in place and I'm branching that out into cars. In theory, we could get to the same place by doing that, but it's definitely doing it in the opposite way around.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, we started filling out a form now. So if anyone else does want to come on here, you can go to our website. I'll put it on the screen. And we tend to ask like 3 kind of challenges. So we'll get to those. But as like Dave was saying, the one thing I'm going to say is when it comes to like marketing, you are like your business's biggest asset, aren't you? I think your knowledge of the cars, especially those older ones, that is by far going to be your best kind of marketing and selling point. So yeah, I think, like I say, it looks like you've set up your limited company, you've got your website, you've got your Facebook, and you've got your YouTube and all that sort of stuff. So that is great. We don't need to cover those basics.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the fact that we're sat here asking you about EVs and stuff like that, I mean, and we've got a lot of experience. I'm pretty certain Dave's still got a knackered old Leaf sat on his forecourt.
That's why I'm asking about the range. Because I've got
Yeah.
a Leaf with 40,000 miles on, and I think it does about 50 miles on a full flipping charge.
The last one I did I did probably about like 35. I was going to say the bar, because you get like the little health bar, don't you, on a Leaf? And mine was a 10 out of 11, is it maximum? But it's still out of 12, is it? Okay. It's still low when you would do like 35, 40 miles an hour. Miles. Anyway, sorry, I divulged. So Gary's kind of challenges, one is finding the right services, basically, whether, like, say, your valeters, your mechanics, and things like that. That's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is sourcing good stock, and ideally from the public. I think we can probably give you some good advice on that. And number 3 is your third-party warranties, because you are currently binning a lot of money into warranties and want to kind of pick our brains about what would be a better solution, perhaps. And it is a tricky one. What sort of figure are you paying for a warranty? What are you doing? Like a 3-month paid warranty with someone like Warranty Wise or something?
Yeah, exactly that. So it varies per car. So the Renault Zoe is the one that's kind of got my backup recently because I just sold a 2019 Zoe and put a 3-month warranty on it that covered the HV battery as well as the aircon system. 2 things you would worry a little bit about with the Zoe, and therefore being able to provide cover is good for peace of mind. 175 quid including VAT for 3 months, which is quite a bit more than it is for a Leaf, quite a bit more than it is for that Peugeot Ion that's on my website at the moment. And therefore, it seems that for some models, the warranty companies see them as being a bit higher risk. Whether they are in reality, I don't know. But the situation I'm up against, I guess, is that, electric cars on the whole are fairly reliable in service, but something like a failed inverter or a motor, etc. So let's ignore the battery because they just don't fail often enough for it to be a concern. I'm not worried about selling a car and the battery having problems within 3, 6, 9, 12 months. It's very unlikely. And I like those words if it does happen, right? But if it does happen, I will look stupid and I'll have egg on my face. But it's the other major components that really could be expensive and wipe out any kind of margin if I'm solely on the hook for them.
What I'd say first, because you are the expert, you know that these are really reliable. So set up a separate account in your bank and just stick like 150, every time you sell a car, stick 150 quid in that warranty account in your bank. And
that said, I mean, that's what I was going to sort of get to, but it depends, without prying too much, your financial situation. Do you have a bit of a buffer that, have you spent every penny you've got on?
We've got a little bit of a buffer, but I do occasionally, if I go on a little bit of a buying spree, we reach into it a little bit. So I've got to balance that quite carefully.
We all do that. Dave and I would definitely say you both do that. You got your VAT money set aside or whatever, and you dip into it because you know you can make money from it. But yeah, what Dave's saying is setting some money aside. Have you had many warranty claims through, say, Warranty Wise or whatever you're using?
No, and therefore it is at the moment that little bit of a dice roll because I'm paying them and I'm assuming that they're going to be good, but I know full well that the downside of third-party warranties is when they say no. I haven't had direct experience of it myself, but I've heard enough guys talk about it that say, they're great until they aren't. And that is a concern. Throwing good money after bad sometimes. But I am definitely using them to try and offset some of my liability, like I'm sure a lot of traders do. But, if something goes wrong and they say no, then you might as well have been self-funded anyway.
Yeah, it's just cost you an extra 150 quid or 100 quid or whatever it is, probably more for EVs to have the things.
How much did
Yeah,
you spend
setting up a separate account. Sorry, go
in the
on.
beginning? Did you used to put money into warranty-wise? Did you put all your cars through a separate company? Because at the
I
beginning,
started off selling real.
sorry, in the beginning, this is the biggest thing that we're all scared of. Because at the minute, me and Joe, we're like veteran boxers. We've been punched in the face that many times. All this warranty stuff is like water off a duck's back now. The last thing we would do is give a warranty company all our money. But I understand in the beginning, we're all like shaking like shitting dogs, thinking, "Oh my God, what if something's going to happen?" Were you the same, Joe, when you first started?
In a sense, when I first started, I was selling cars under £2,000, and I was in a situation where my theory was always just like, if something goes wrong, I'll just buy it back. I'll make sure I've not always got the money, but
Yeah,
it won't be too long until I sell another one and I've got the money to buy it back, and I'll deal with it on my own time. When I started selling more expensive stuff, then I started doing warranties, and I would do them on everything because I was like, it's peace of mind for me and everything's taken care of and we don't have to worry about, because by that stage you've already experienced quite a lot of warranty stuff and you know how much of a pain it can be. And not even so much the expense, it's just the kind of call them, not us. That's off our plate and we're focusing on selling more, not dealing with the ones that we've already sold. But that said, you will do that for maybe like you have done already, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and maybe you get really lucky and nothing happens. And then one day you do, and it's something daft. I don't know, Windows switch stops working or something, and the warranty company says, no, we don't really cover that. The customer, that might be technically the case or whatever, that maybe it's not covered under Consumer Rights Act, but, you're an honest trader and you want to make sure people are happy. So you're going to have to pay for it. And then you'll go back and do the calculations. Like, over the last 12 months, I spent £30,000 with these people, and they can't just do me a favor and cover this Windows switch. And that's when, I just hit the roof. I'm like, never, I'm not doing it. And I think most of us, like Dave says, seasoned veterans of this will end up self-warranting. You can do it via another company. So you could do like logistics, which wouldn't be a bad shout anyway if you're starting out. Having a bit of legal advice, it's 800 quid a year, but it's probably the best 800 quid you'll ever spend if you are in this for the long run. They will do like managed warranties for you. So you can put the money aside, but they have to call logistics. You give them a little warranty book. They have to call logistics and say, is this covered? And they will run through and they can phone you and say, do you want to cover it? And if you say, well, technically that's not covered, they will go back and deal with the customer. So that takes some of the stress off. But the caveat is, it's just everything with car sales is a calculated risk and how much you want to take. I personally, if you were to look at it over the next 3 years, I would bet my house that you'll be better off self-funding your warranties than you will be paying someone else for it. And also nothing stings worse than paying for a warranty. It doesn't cover the thing you're going to have to do anyway, and then you've got to pay for it on top. It's just so...
We're all looking for the easy route, aren't we? But there is no easy route. And the other thing, if you self-warrant and you do fix the cars yourself, it is better for your customer relations and your reviews and customers coming back to you. That's the way I've always looked at warranty stuff. We'll never leave anyone in the lurch. We'll never tell them to sod off unless they're not being nice with us. And you seem like a really nice chap as well. So I think like what we're both getting at is, don't be scared to do it yourself.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And it sounds to me like the logistics thing might be the way to go, because I do feel that one of the key selling points when you're selling cars that people might be a little bit scared of for various reasons, when you can actually say that it comes with a warranty, which obviously very easy when you're buying it in. But I could also do that if as long as you've got this sort of framework around it where you're giving them a warranty booklet of some description that outlines their, what's covered and what isn't and that kind of thing. That is different to just self-funding it, but saying, if you've got any problems, give me a call. That's a little bit, that's not really providing a warranty, is it? That's standing behind what you sell, but from the customer's point of view, not necessarily, they want to be assured that they have a warranty.
Yeah.
So I guess there is a balance there, isn't there, between...
The other thing as well that you always have with these conversations is the warranty it's like above and beyond anyway, whatever you are responsible for anyway. So it is an added bonus, really, because you don't have to give a warranty whatsoever. You just got the Consumer Rights Act. So you can say, this is our warranty. And even if it specifically excludes certain things that you don't want to, whatever it is, might be for an EV that is, the flux capacitor, what do I know? They wear out a lot. You can put that in there, but there's nothing wrong with saying that because it's part of this additional cover you're offering, basically. So, yeah, whether you write up something yourself or speak with logistics and they will manage it. And the nice thing with that is that they will take the phone calls, although I would check how well staffed they are on their thingy, because we had a few where people had tried to contact them for a week or two and with no luck, and then came to us, and then it's 2 weeks down the line and we're, the not so great people.
Yeah, that is the downside, isn't it? If you give someone else the first point of contact, disappointed customer is then going to be really disappointing when they come to you if they've not been getting the result they need.
Yeah, but if you want to stick with, I can quite happily email you a list of different third-party warranty providers that will cover up to the value of the car, that may be a bit cheaper, that will give you a set price for every car, regardless, because that's the problem with warranty-wise. You go through, like you say, some of them are more expensive and some aren't. Well, plenty of them do it just at a set, like £100 or whatever it is, which is much more easy to budget for when you're buying and things like that, if that makes you more comfortable in the short term. But long term, I think the plan should definitely be to self-fund.
Okay. Yeah. And maybe even, I guess I could run with a sort of hybrid approach where the ones that are a little bit more problematic, like the Zoe, in terms of cost, rather than the car being problematic, I can self-fund those ones. But so that Peugeot Ion, it's so cheap to put a warranty on that for some reason that actually it's a bit of a no-brainer with that one. I think it's only about 120 quid or something like that, which is, to me, it's probably worth it. That, so I could put 120, 150 quid aside in the hope nothing goes wrong, but if they pay out for something, it's going to be worth it. I think that's the balancing act for me.
So long as they do pay out.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
And what about where you're buying your cars from then, Gary? How are you getting?
Yeah, primarily BCA at the moment. I do have some accounts with other auction firms as well, but I think when you've got a very specific stock profile, BCA obviously have the biggest coverage of the market. Love them or hate them, I can find what I need from them.
What type of margins are you getting from them? Is it decent margins?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Well, I try to have at least £1,000 up on it after prep. Is the target at the moment. That's before VAT, because I'm not VAT registered yet, but I will be. Need to be shortly. And I can see margins in the stuff. Obviously, there are some times where the BCA make an awful lot of money out of me through the fees and stuff. And I'm sure we all feel that, right? They've got a stranglehold over the market, and I would like to buy from other sources. I do have, people come to me, especially through my YouTube channel and stuff, saying, I've got this Leaf, I've got this Zoe, I want to move it on. And that's something I'm keen to develop, because I think that, like everybody, cutting out the middleman has to be a good way forward if possible.
Yeah, 100%. That was the next thing I was coming to, which is your sort of second problem, which is sourcing good stock and ideally from the public. But it's really straightforward. I did pull up your website. Did it come up for you guys? As I say, I haven't really figured out this thing yet, but if I was to...
Yeah, I did see it when you had it up.
Yeah, it came up.
Let's just do that quickly. Yeah, here we are. So obviously you've got your cars on here that you've got at the moment. You've got. I think the simplest thing to do would be to. Is this a website you built yourself?
Yeah, it is. It's a bit rubbish, to be honest, but it's sort of serving a purpose at the moment.
Yeah, it's no, it's perfectly fine. It just means that you can get in there and make some changes to it. And what I would do is just put another page on here, which has another contact form that says, sell us your EV, or we want to buy your EV, or something like that. And then obviously put a form in there with all the questions you want to know, like battery state of health, if you think they're going to know it, mileage, location, all that sort of stuff. And like I say, put it in your videos. But I would also just go on Canva and make some pictures of you. I'm the EV expert and I want to buy your old EV or something like that, and do a few Facebook adverts, because obviously I got cars bought for more, and we have far more offered to us than we could possibly ever cope with. It's almost a problem at the moment, like £1.6 million worth of cars in the last 30 days we've valued. I wish I had the money to buy them all, but it's just not anywhere near that. not even 1% half the time. But before I had that kind of, because of just mentioning it, and this is just coming from old YouTube videos, I barely mention it these days. But before that, all I ever did was Facebook and Instagram adverts, and I would put a picture of, I don't know if I can find it, but just we want to buy your car or something like that, and do that. And I had a separate website, but you wouldn't need to. Yours could just be like, we want to buy EVs, we're the experts or whatever. And I think you'd have quite good success with that. In a way, I feel like you would almost get better bargains, but it's more risky at auction with EVs because most dealers don't want them, especially the older ones. So they are going to potentially be margin strong, and that's the reason why I've been tempted by some of them sometimes. And I don't know whether that would be the case private buying or not, whether people are going to be like, well, I paid a lot for this and I think it's worth more and whatever, or they've already shopped around and they already know, because all you got to do is go to We Buy Any Car, compare the price and say, look, they want to give you 150 quid, but I'll give you 1,500 quid. And then, you can sell it for 3.5 or something, which people will think is crazy. People listening to this will think we're rip-off merchants, but you're taking all the risk.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. People very much look at the retail price of a car versus the trade price and think that you're absolutely tearing their eyes out, right? And you guys must have these conversations with people daily when you offer them a Part X price for the car. But the prep costs for a lot of stuff, no matter what length you're going to go to, definitely eat a lot of that up pretty quickly.
Difference between Dave and you, I would hazard a guess, is at this stage of the game, when someone's offering you a car or they want to part exchange it and you think, I can see £1,000 or £1,500 profit in that, and you're desperate to have it, whereas me and David were like, take our price or take it somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm not desperate for your car because there's 6 million of them on the road. There will be another one. You don't need to desperately buy cars. So if people don't want to take what you're offering, the amount of times we've offered a price and they're like, well, that's insulting, can't believe you'd offer me that sort of thing. I'm sorry, but here's all the evidence going by off the industry data. That's really what it's worth. And frankly, maybe I've gone a bit under, but that's because, to be completely honest with you, I don't really want it. But that would be what I could offer you. And they'll go away completely disgusted and insulted and come back a week later once they've tried everyone else and say, is that offer still on the table?
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
He who cares the least wins. So you do not want to be going in there like, oh, this car's beautiful. Oh, I love it. You've got to have your business hat on all the time, especially when you're buying private. And it does. I was the same in the beginning. I used to think, God, I'm not offering them enough for that. I'm offering they're going to be insulted and all that type of stuff. But guarantee once you're selling it to a retail customer and you've got to do that little chip, that little scuff, it all adds up. So you've got to get these cars at the best price possible, But the beauty of it is, because you're in this niche market, you can set your parameters up on Auto Trader for private buying. Like Joe's saying here, the auction is actually a brilliant place to buy EVs because that's it. I don't know, this is just a guess, but 60-70% of traders don't like buying electric vehicles. And we have had some absolute bargains at the auction, especially if you've got like lease companies putting stuff through. And no one's wanting it. It's got a bit of work that needs doing to it. You can get these cars at a really, really good price. So I think
yes, you're right. I think that is something I've been carving out quite early on. So I've had a bit of a run of Renault Zoes recently, but two of them were direct from lease companies, and there was enough margin in them that I had them brought down to me from Glasgow all the way down to Gloucester, which obviously transport is not cheap, especially with that distance, but the margin was there that it still made sense to do that, and they're sold and gone. They sold pretty quickly. So you're right. There's definitely a fair bit of the trade that's shying away from them. But I understand why as well. You have both. The fact we started this call, you asked me about battery health, right? You two guys have got so much more knowledge about the car trade than I could hope for, right? But you still have a gap in your knowledge when it comes to EVs, to the point where if you're not 100% sure that it's something you can stand behind, etc., well, you might as well just sell something that you do know. There's no point in buying something in that's going to become a liability for you potentially, when there's plenty of other cars that you could have on your pitch that you do know about, and
that's the thing, because it's a confidence thing. Someone came last week asking about the Teslas we've got for sale, and don't actually know loads about them. And I'm like, well, it's a Tesla, it drives, it does 300 miles to the charge, which is unbelievable. But here's you, and you can go into all them little intricacies, and that is what is going to sell your cars for you, because you're so passionate about it.
Yeah. My first thing I would do is have, obviously you're doing your YouTube and stuff and everything, which is great, because that will drive a lot of kind of interest to you.
Build
to your
trust
website
as well, won't it, Joe?
Yeah, 100%. But I would be doing little short videos to go on, say, your Facebook, for example, because I see your Facebook is currently kind of reset up for the YouTube channel, not so much the sales, but just where you've come on this morning and we've said, so what's going to happen with batteries? Will they whatever? And you've given us a really kind of clear and concise description of batteries will degrade, but they won't, they're probably going to outlast the car. I would make that into a short video. People ask what happens with batteries, and you can say, well, look, the reality is it's probably going to last as long as an engine, etc., etc. That's, yes, there's a lot of fear around EVs, but there really shouldn't be. Just think of it as an electric engine or something. Little video like that with your name at the end, see our cars, simple as that, and just dot those around all the time. Those little nuggets of information, because you're giving people something. You are genuinely giving them
Service.
value. And I think people will be like, oh, that's the EV guy. Yeah, he knows his stuff. So that would be, I'd want to do. And I don't think you struggle for stock. And I think if there's any traders who are watching this and they're at the auctions buying their usual bread and butter stuff, and they see something that might suit Gary, well, you've seen his thing, we'll put his email up. You can drop him a line and say, look, I'm looking at a Zoe. It looks like it's going to go really cheap. You might be, because if someone did that for me, if I said, look, I'm going to get into EVs, and everyone who's watching here, I'm not saying this, so don't start calling me for all the EVs, everyone, by the way. Give me a shout if you see something that you think looks really good, and if you get it bought, or vice versa, or it turns out, I'll bung you an extra £100 or something. Do you know what I mean? For putting me onto it, or having a look around it for me. I've got a guy who goes to Westbury Auctions. He wants to come on the podcast at some point, actually. And he just saw me. I was looking at an old Porsche 924, and I put it on my Instagram story, and he was there. And he's like, oh, look, I'm looking at, here's the look around. Look, it was really nice and whatever. And so now, anytime I'm looking at a car at that auction, he's usually there. I'm like, do you want to have a look around that for me? And he sends me a video.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how, willing car dealers are to kind of help each other out, especially when it's out of their niche.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And this is
and you're
another
out of
thing
pretty much everyone's niche.
that you what is it? Your networks, your net worth, and all that. So there'll be people that'll be maybe ringing you wanting to do sale or return with you. I think this is another question, wasn't it? When you get offered cars of a certain value and you haven't got enough money in the pot to buy them, this is what's going to happen. I think someone's going to say, look, this Tesla's come up at a really good price, and they'll do a sale or return with you. So you sell it for them, and then you take a percentage of the profits from them. I think that could really work well for you as well, because there's lots of traders that don't want to be selling cars retail. They just want to buy the cars and they want other people to sell them for them.
Yeah, that's fair. So I always thought a sale or return is something that you would do for members of the public, and wondered about how that works with like liability and stuff. But interesting, the idea of doing that for other traders is not something I'm
9 times out of 10, that's what it is.
Yeah.
There's people who dedicate their lives to, I guess they just like buying at auction. They'll go and buy cars, and people who do sale or return, 9 times out of 10 are doing it for the same people over and over and over and over again, because they're just buying the cars and they're getting them to sell it. And in your instance, again, your expertise and interest and enthusiasm in it, because I think with most electric cars, you've kind of got to learn something, which I haven't got the patience for. It was struggle enough to figure out how I locked the Tesla when I got it, and I had to put the card on the window thing, and I had to Google it, and then I'm just not enthusiastic enough to want to figure that out. But you would be able to give people the answers that I couldn't. So yeah, you might find that would be, as you build up, build some trust and whatever, I think that would, be good. But I would definitely get the kind of contact form on your website, and make a note of it or a point of it at the end of every video that you do put up on YouTube, just that if you are looking to sell whatever it is, if you want to set the parameters of under £5,000, whatever, I think you'd be surprised how many inquiries you will get.
Yeah, sure. That sounds good. I think the only question that I've got then about that approach is, and I think you kind of touched on this, Joe, is that you get many more inquiries than cars you're actually able to buy.
Yeah.
Now that problem will be worse for me because I've got a limited either budget or storage, etc., which means that there is stuff you're going to have to pass up on that. And I've already actually had it recently where someone's come to me with something that looked good, and there was definitely margin in it, etc. But I was kind of full up at time and had to pass on it. How do you manage that with like Cars Bought for More? Do you have other trade contacts you pass stuff on to when you can't buy it?
I would love to. I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to if I wasn't doing YouTube and a podcast and a plumbing business and car sales and whatever else. I would love to focus in on that and either buy them and trade them on or build a platform where I can put them onto that. But I'm my own worst enemy, and the last thing I need is another project to do something like that. But it all depends. Sometimes you can say, look, I'm full up at the moment. I'd love to have it, and this is what I can give you, and I think I'll give you more than anyone else. But you might have to wait a month. You might be surprised how many people will.
Okay.
But yeah, again, building your network, as Dave says, you might find you get on well with another trader who trades in, usual ICE cars. Then you say, look, I've been offered this, but I haven't got the money. Do you want to do it? And we'll go halves, sort of thing. You buy it, I'll prep it, I'll sell it, and I'll split it with you or something. You might find these. I wouldn't be one to promote business partnerships in general, but partnerships on deals is a different matter. It's neat. But yeah, I mean, like I say, the majority of them we have to pass on. Just location, geographically, the value of them's like, £3,000 and, they're in, like you say, Scotland or something. Well, we're not going to drive up there, stay over in a hotel, drive back for a car that's maybe got 1,500 quid in it. It's just not realistic. It'd be great to know a trader up there that would go and buy it, but yeah, it's logistically.
What happened with this car that you had to pass up on then? Did they give it a wee buy any car or something?
I'm pretty sure that's where it will ended up. Yeah, so I went back to them about a week later because I'd sold one, so there was a space, and then it had gone. So I'm assuming, yeah,
right.
And obviously we're all kind of up against We Buy Any Car, right? That in terms of the ease of dealing with for the public, and then their buying power completely.
I think Joe's right though, on what he's saying. If that happens again, you don't want it slipping through your fingers. So I'd just be honest and say, look, we haven't got the funds at the minute, but would you like us to advertise it for you? And we'll do it on a sale or return basis. I think that's because the one thing at the minute, in the beginning, you don't want to be missing out on deals. So just try and keep them as much as you can.
Just before we get to sort of suppliers and body shops and stuff, just so I got an idea, obviously you're doing this part-time at the moment because you're still, say, an IT consultant.
Yeah.
The plan is to stick in that sense and have like a lifestyle car sales, or you want to move into this full-time, or where it goes?
I'm not sure. I love the idea of doing it full-time. I'm definitely more passionate about this than the day job, which I'm good at, but it doesn't excite me to the level that this does. But that will be a longer-term thing. I think I've got quite a lot of financial commitments and stuff. I mean, that would be a big step.
Yeah, well, that's it. My theory in my question was going to be whether, borrowing some money to kind of up your stock and how quickly you wanted to expand. Because if you were definitely dedicating the time and effort and everything into it, then borrowing money is a good idea 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Which is counter to absolutely everything I've ever taught or thought growing up. But yeah, if it's more needs to grow organically first, then
cars are good debt. When you're selling them, it's a good debt. So if you can borrow money, but I mean, how much have you got invested at the moment? If you don't mind us asking.
About sort of 15 grand in kind of working capital, and that's between stock and cash in the bank, etc.
Great. So you could compound that over the next year. I think you'll be able to double it, to be honest. And then once you get to that sort of level, then I'd look into getting a bank loan from the bank. I'd try and get like an extra 50 grand. I really would. And if you've got a mortgage or anything like that, I'd have no qualms in remortgaging my house as well. I know.
This is always Dave's advice. Sell everything, mortgage everything.
But, because I'm like 44 now, I wish I'd done all this in my 20s. I wish that I'd just put everything into cars in my early 20s. And I know that I'd be so much further on now.
Well, like you said, it's compound interest. So the earlier you start, the bigger the rewards are later on down the line. So yeah, but won't convince you to get yourself into debt and whatever,
Yeah.
or more debt or
Yeah.
whatever. But so your other question, which we haven't covered, was like building relationships with suppliers, body shop,
Yeah,
garages. And things.
absolutely. So as I sort of hinted at, I'm kind of guilty of trying to do everything myself, and that is even like changing brakes and suspension bits and that kind of stuff, and very quickly realizing that isn't particularly sustainable, and my time would be better used to work on marketing, make videos, that kind of stuff, or with buying whatever that be, than rolling around in the dirt after work on Tuesday changing some brakes because somebody's coming to look at that car tomorrow and it was an advisory on the MOT and they're a bit of a state, etc. But the problem I have is even garages around here that get a decent name, you ring them up, they're booked up for 6 weeks, and you can put yourself at mercy of like fast fits and stuff like that, but the amount they charge and the sort of the way they go about things isn't particularly compatible with like my interests, which is getting cars into a safe, retailable condition reasonably quickly at a cost I'm willing to pay the sort of worth of a service. But some of these places are their idea of what it should cost for certain things is kind of out of touch. So how do I find like good, independent, preferably garages that are willing to sort of this kind of trade work? The going rate, I'm not trying to get stuff done for nothing, but I need that sort of flexibility and stuff as well, rather than waiting weeks and weeks.
It just comes in time. You've got to kiss a lot of frog,
Exactly what I was going to say. Unfortunately, also, the more cars you've got in stock and the more kind of, not clout, but, it's
building that relationship.
more work you've got lined up for them. I think they're just, so if you're going to a garage that you think you want to use and they're booked up for 6 weeks and whatever, I think the only way I ever got myself in good favour with those sorts of garages to a point where they really look after you is just, okay, I'll book it in 6 weeks. And you have to wait, and you kind of got to do your time, wait for it, get the work done. Presumably it goes very well. Pay them promptly, be very grateful. Probably in the meantime, if you've booked one in for 6 weeks' time, you've probably got another car coming a week down later, book another one in for that next 6 weeks' time. You just got to build relationships with people to the point they realise Gary's sound. He pays, he doesn't give us any trouble, he's not, phoning up all the time, even if you are, not as much. I might be wrong, but you don't look like the type who's going to turn up and kick off, and you'd be amazed how many people do with garages and things. But, I mean, the other option is, I don't know if you can find yourself like a decent mobile mechanic, even just like a decent pair of hands. Like, we get all the time, lads want to come in and just want a bit of experience doing stuff. It would be very hard for me to manage, but for you, maybe if you had someone who was...
Joe, we've lost you.
There we go.
Have you got like a little ramp and that at all?
No, I do everything just on jacks and axle stands and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about buying like a scissor lift, but that'll need to...
Have you got enough room to put a scissor lift?
Yeah, well, I have got a unit at the moment that I've been renting for a number of years for various different reasons, starting sort of, messing around with cars as a hobby to using for storage for other businesses and stuff. So I do have space.
So yeah, we've got you back, Joe. So what Gary's saying, he has actually got a unit. So
Brilliant.
I mean, I'd be getting, like, say, a little axle stand.
You need a lad or lass who is just into, and you won't struggle at all whether you did a Facebook post and promoted it or something, or Indeed, depends how serious you want to get. But someone who's happy to come in and when you're there, weekends or whatever, that is up for valeting cars, because that's a slog. And, even with you, if you start off saying, I'll show you how to do the brakes or whatever, if you're, good at that. Yeah, but it's nerve-wracking.
But if you could get weekends, you're laughing. Just paying for a day's wage, you're halfway there.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the thing that always puts me off jumping into that kind of route is if you agree to employ someone, then you're gonna have to pay them on some kind of regular schedule, right? Nobody's gonna. Well, maybe there is possible to have someone on an as and when basis, but there will be a reasonable expectation of a little bit of a working pattern, which creates another overhead straight away, right? So that's why I'm a little bit hesitant.
But like Joe says, you need someone young and keen, someone who will come in on a weekend. And honestly, just that one day, someone doing discs, pads, changing tyres, or just helping you run about, it's going to make your life so much easier.
Yeah, if you'd say to someone, I mean, the amount of bills that you're going to be getting from garages, if you could say to someone, I'll give you 70 quid to come in and help me for the day on a Saturday, you'd be amazed how much will get done. Maybe not straight off, but as you build a relationship with them, it would have to happen at some point. And then if it's someone good, then you'd even find that they can do viewings for you while you're at work doing your IT. It's and they'll be keen. But other than that, it's just a case of building relationships, isn't it? I don't think there's any way to sort of jump the queue, as it were.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But like Dave says, keep kissing the frogs, I guess. If you're not having a good, experience with who you are using, then doesn't hurt to shop around. I think we've covered the main three of your things. Was there anything else you wanted to ask?
I think on the supplier front, maybe the answer is going to be the same. It's like sort of paint and body type people, whether that be smart repair guys, dent guys, etc. That's something I'm kind of, at the moment, I offer a lot more stuff not prepared in terms of body repairs, because I don't know how to go about finding someone half decent to do it, and always a bit hesitant of having work done that might not be that great because I don't know the person that's doing it. And then you've got a car that's obviously had paint, and that puts people off, versus it just being a bit scuffed about, which also puts people off, but maybe less so than a half-hearted repair might.
Asking around, speak to the garages. If you go and have mechanical stuff, do you know any body shop places? You normally get a recommendation or not. Then once you get to the body shop and you speak to them and you've got something booked in, do you know a dent man? 9 times out of 10, they'll give you a number of a dent man because they probably don't do it themselves. And again, you just get more popular as you get more cars in stock and whatever. Fun enough, our dent man, I used to struggle to get him on the phone or get him to come when I had a few cars, because I'd only phone him once a month maybe. And now he just turns up whenever he wants it, and he goes around and he does about 7 cars, and then he buggers off again. He's made about 400 quid out of me, and but it suits both of us then. But I guess the problem is you just don't get. It's tough starting out. That's the thing people don't seem to understand with car sales. It is really, really tough. People think £1,000 you're making out of that. There's a lot to consider.
And the other thing is getting to know these body shops, because if you just go to a normal body shop, it'll be double the price than what we probably pay in the trade. So you've got to find the trade body shops and just get yourself down to the industrial estate. One of my painters, Ovi, he's from Bulgaria or somewhere, and he's got a unit, he's not on the internet, he's just got a telephone number and that's it. And he is the best painter. One of the best painters I've ever used. You'd never know where to find him. You've got to just get out there and try just get the word out with other people. Even go to other traders, speak to other traders in your town. So wait, just ring them up. Do you mind giving us a number for a body shop that you use? Do you know it's reasonable? Do you know it's cheap? That's what I'd be doing.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, you can even go to other dealers, to be honest. You could go and say, all right, I sell a few EVs. That'd be a great thing to do, to be honest, actually, is if you've got a few dealers that do use stuff around you, just like, I hope I don't want to keep you up for too long, but just let you know, I kind of like a bit of a EV geek, and I'm into them. So if you ever get any in, give me a shout, because if it's not your thing, I might come down and have a look. You might find you get a few that way, because again, dealers don't want them. But once you're chatting, who do you use for paint? Who do you use for your dent man? And they'll probably be like, Dave. And oh, Dave, is that? Whatever. And then they'll come up with the name, Most people don't care, do they? It's only shrewd, kind of bitter people like me when people come in and ask for the name of my paint man. I'm like, no, don't tell them the good one. Tell them the crap one. Because I don't want him queued up and not doing our work.
That's so true.
Yeah, and that is probably a side subject. It's like you guys are very, very open, and you're doing these podcasts and all your videos, and very, very keen to lay bare the reality of life in the motor trade. But I do find that some people, at least, are very protective, and they think that by keeping things a closely guarded secret, that that'll make them more prosperous, and that they're dead against telling everybody else how to do what they do. But you guys seem like the complete opposite of that, and you're telling me, speak to other traders, and that's how you can get information and stuff. But do you not find that some people are just really, really closed-minded and stuff, especially when it comes to newcomers in the trade? Or is that a bigger issue in my head than it is in reality?
I think that's in your head. I think newcomers, a lot of us think they're not going to last 2 minutes. That's a big thing. But with me, when I first started trading, I think traders are really helpful. you know, I think that we're all in the same boat. You know, we've all got this, you know, we're all dodgy car traders with this, with that. And the beauty of it is we're all out here to help each other. And I don't mind sharing stuff because I think most people are too lazy to actually do it anyhow. Like me and Joe, we're doing it. We're in the midst of it. And I don't worry about anybody copying what I do. And I'm not jealous of it. I want everybody to do well as well. So they're the traders you need to be talking to. Not the old bitter ones who don't want anybody doing well, you know, who are jealous of other traders. Same with Joe, like we look up to loads of other traders, and them traders are the ones that want to help you. They want to pass their knowledge on. So don't be scared to ask questions, to ask for help.
Yeah, there's a mix. There is a mix. Like as Dave said, there are some that are just going to be, especially if you turn up and you say, look, I do this, they just can't be asked, they don't want to know, hate their job. You know, me and Dave, we obviously enjoy our job, and even though we're not necessarily car people, but I remember there was one place I went to when I was first starting out, before I ever went to any auctions or whatever, and it's just up the road from the auction. I was like, if you ever get any part exchange,
gone just to the right good bit there. Coming back, I'm in Turkey as well. Mine should be terrible.
No, it's this stupid connector on my laptop that's just playing up. Anyway, what I'm saying is, basically,
part exchanges, and then it cut off.
Yeah, I said, you know, if you get any part exchanges, etc., that you don't want to retail, I'll take anything on. Trying to be as like, you know, non-pushy and whatever as possible when it just didn't want to know, and you know, we're leaps and bounds ahead of them now. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes if you go in and speak to someone, it's never going to be a wasted effort, because if they turn out to be a complete prick, you know they're a complete prick, and you're not going to send anyone else there, and you're not going to go in and try and bother with them again if you happen to see, you know,
a
Citroen Ami on the forecourt or something that they've had for 6 months. You probably won't bother going in and saying, look, I'll take it on if you want, because that's my bag. So yeah, I know exactly how you feel. And especially when you're not really been in the motor trade, you feel like a bit of an outsider, and they're going to be like, you don't know what you're doing or whatever.
Yeah.
But F them in the nicest possible way. You know what you want to do. You know what you're about. But most will be really friendly. Especially, I think a lot of us get sick. Even I get sick if you get the lads come in who clearly are selling from their driveway. You get any part exchanges and whatever, and you're like, all right, well, that thing's there. It cost me 500 quid. If you want it for, you know, 700 quid, you can have it. It's worth $2,000 out. But if you just want to take it, oh, well, I only want it for 500 quid's really my maximum budget, and just instantly just get out. Just get out. But if you're going in saying, look, I'm not asking you for all your part exchanges. In fact, I'm just saying that EV is my thing.
And you know it's going to be music to your ears when all these other traders go, oh, God, yeah, I hate electric cars.
Yeah.
Give us your number, I'll ring you straight away. You know,
probably straight away be like, oh, you don't want a whatever, do you? We got it round here, but I don't know what to do with it. And you're the best bit of stock you've ever had.
If you had come to me a few months ago, you could have had that Leaf I've had for like nearly a year and a half, you know.
Oh.
I'd be going round to all the traders.
Mm.
I am the EV man. I'm the electric car guy. And I think you're going to clean up. Honestly, I really do. I think you're going to do really well. I'm quite envious of you, actually, because me starting out, I wish this is the exact route that I'd went down.
The other thing I was going to add before I forget, because of my ADHD, is you want to speak to have you got like a charging point at home? Okay. Did you get on well with your electrician?
Well, I used one of the big companies to do it. Yeah, it was one that fixed price install type thing, because it was quite easy.
Fair enough. Actually, there was someone who emailed me, and I can't remember. It will be in my email box somewhere, and I'll forward it on to you. But basically, he was a provider of these electric charging points at home. Okay. I think maybe because he saw us buy the Tesla, and he said, oh, you need to get one of these on your forecourt because you're whatever. But that would be a great upsell, you know.
Yeah,
you know a guy that come to your house and fit the charging point.
Yeah. That's something I've already at least thought about a little bit. Is can I partner with a charging installer, because a lot of these first-time EV buyers don't have a home charger and would like one.
Yeah, and I think as well with your warranty stuff, because you're going to be such an expert with all the EVs. I think people will want to buy a warranty from you as you grow and you get bigger. I think you'll be able to do some sort of warranty package where you'll be able to make, with this the way you're going. There's loads of add-ons you can do with your business, which is beautiful.
Someone will be in touch with me and send me an email to forward to you about, I mean, I'll get your email and I'll put it on the screen if you're happy, and they can email you directly. But someone will email me, because I've had it from the other motor trade mentors already. They're like, can you send our details? We think we can help. So we will forward that on. You might find someone who's better suited to EV warranties and stuff like that.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
Right. Before my screen goes blank again, I should probably cut it there and let Dave get back to his holiday in Turkey. Yeah, get back to the swimming pool and the margaritas and whatever. So, Gary, we've covered a lot of it because we talked about your website and everything. But if anyone wants to find you, where will they do that?
Primarily via YouTube would be the best place for people to reach out if they just want to have a chat about EVs, etc. But if you are also interested in buying one, then give me an email or give me a call. Joe, I'm sure you can put the email address and number on the screen, and we can make it happen.
Yeah. Make sure you check out Gary's channel. He's doing challenges and all sorts. And yeah, if you're into EVs or want to be, he's got all the stuff here. Yeah, unless there's anything else, I think we've covered a lot. We'll catch up with you. Don't forget your old mate Joe and Dave when you're running the EV world. If I get anything in, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Other than that, it may be great to have a catch up with you at some point, 6 to 12 months down the line, and we'll see how you're getting on.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, well, thank you both very much for your time. Much appreciated. And yeah, I look forward to having a chat in the future. Maybe we could do some video stuff in the future as well if you're up for it.
Sounds good to me. EV road trip. I'm so EV clueless. You could teach me some stuff.
Oh, but yeah, nice to meet you, Gary.
And you, thank you very much.
All the best, mate.
Cheers.